So let's talk a little bit about angels. We're in the book of Hebrews, and in the last verse of chapter 11, um, my bad, I should have had it ready to go here. Chapter 1. Yeah. And the writer writes, are not angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? And that's a rhetorical question. The answer is yes. The Bible talks about angels a lot of different times, and I cheated and went on BibleGateway.com, which is probably one of my favorite, my very favorite Bible app is YouVersion. And for some study helps, BibleGateway.com does it for me. But, and part of the reason is because I'm real cheap, and both of those are free. But they also happen to be very, very useful tools. And so, so I looked up angels. The Bible talks about angels. The writers write 96 times about angels in the Bible, both Old and New Testament. Which do you think has the most mentions of angels, the Old Testament or the New Testament? I would have thought, before I did this, I kind of thought, well, wouldn't it be the Old Testament? There's a lot more books in the Old Testament. Turns out the Old Testament has 14, and the New Testament has 82. In the Old Testament, most of the time, angels are messengers. Although there was that time in the book of Daniel where Michael, the archangel, said he was detained while doing battle. For me, I'm pretty sure, the conclusion I've drawn anyway, is that this was a spiritual battle, somehow with the forces of Satan and darkness. Okay, there are other times. One of the times I think of is when Gideon was trying to hide, right? And this is in the book of Judges. And he was down in a wine press winnowing wheat, which is it's not a very good place to winnow wheat. You want to be up where the wind catches the chaff and blows it away while the grain falls to the ground. But he was in the wine press because he was afraid of the Philistines. The Philistines had come, invaded the land. They took livestock, they took crops, they took anything they wanted, including women and children. Gideon was down in the wine press trying to get this done, hiding from the Philistines, when an angel of the Lord appeared and called him mighty warrior. Really? We got to read the rest of the story to know turns out he really was a mighty warrior. For yourself, you may want to go all the way through, get online if you can, and you're watching me, so you can, and see what you can find out. In the New Testament, there are many times, Jesus even said, well, it'd be a lot better if I can if I can read it to you, and I think I can. All I got to do is find it. not there, not there, not there, where he says, these little ones, and he's talking about little kids, I think, have angels assigned to them. Come on, Steve. I hate it when I have to do this. Not in Matthew, not in Mark. Let's see if it's in Luke. Well, I guess I don't know what I'm looking, where it is that Jesus talks about that. He does talk about, well, can't find it. Duh. One of the things Jesus said is there's more rejoicing in heaven. The angels rejoice when a sinner repents. It's amazing. When Peter had been thrown in prison early in the book of Acts, an angel came, smacked him on the side to wake him up and said, "Get your clothes on, get your sandals on, come on." And they left. Doors swung open for them. The gate to the whole place swung open, and they walked right out. Peter thought he was dreaming, and then he realized this is not a dream. I'm free. Angels are ministering spirits. Occasionally, and you realize that there are lots of times in the Old Testament and New Testament when angels embodied themselves. These spirits became embodied. For what reason? To communicate with humans. So, they are spirits, and they can be embodied. This is not something they choose for themselves. I don't find anything in the Old or New Testaments where an angel decides he's going to appear. No, they are emissaries, messengers from God. It's he decides when and if. Okay. They are ministering spirits. I don't know how, when I look at the examples from the Bible, the ministering spirits, after Jesus spent 40 days and 40 nights with nothing to eat in the wilderness, Satan came to him, tempted him 3 times, and then it says that angels ministered to him. I don't know how they did that. But they interacted with him somehow. I wonder. One of the things is that one of the places in Scripture where angels are written about. It says there are times you have entertained angels without knowing it. But I'm proving to you that I am not an angelologist. I don't know enough about angels to be authoritative. But I will say this verse gives me an important glimpse that angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. That's me. That's you. I've never witnessed my angel or an angel ministering to me, but their spirits, I'm probably not going to see them. I don't know. There's so many things I don't know about angels that it's smart for me to just leave it where I did. I just can create a cloud of dust nobody can see through and move on to Hebrews chapter 2. We must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard, so that we will not drift away. Because of what he said about the supremacy of Jesus, I don't want us to get hung up on the angel thing, because that's a little bit of a side issue. The central nugget is Jesus is superior. We must pay careful attention, because of Jesus is superior, to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away. You know what? If we lose sight of, if we lose track of the fact that Jesus is superior, we can be drawn away. We can drift away. I have seen that in ministry. I've watched people drift away. And occasionally, I've been so blessed to see believers, they didn't drift back, but they came to their senses, and they came back to the grace of God and the love of Christ. It is possible to drift away, or else this wouldn't have been included. To me, this is one of the maybe fringe points, one of the less than primary reasons that I'm not a Calvinist. Because Calvinists, true Calvinists, 5-point Calvinists, don't think anybody, if you're saved, you're always saved. It doesn't matter. And if you drifted away, then you weren't saved. That's not the implication here. These are not people who were not saved that the Hebrew writer wrote to. Okay, verse 2, for since the message spoken through angels was binding, and there you go, angels as messengers, and what they said was binding, it's not peripheral, nor superfluous, whatever adjectives you want to put to it. The message was binding, and every violation and disobedience received a just punishment. In other words, this is not like, God is, he's occupied otherwise, he's not paying very good attention, and, just stuff gets by. I don't think so. Every violation and disobedience receives its just punishment. Now listen, does that mean that God is keeping score, and when I sin, boom, he smacks me with some sort of punishment? Well, maybe not dramatically, but don't you see that every time I sin or disobey, there are consequences? And yeah, the consequences often serve as the punishment, but there will come a time when the disobedient and those who had no regard for God's design, they will find that they're being punished, and it's a just punishment. Okay, verse 3, a famous phrase, how shall we escape if we ignore so great a salvation? It's a great question. It's a rhetorical question, and the answer is, you won't. Well, now I wish I hadn't spent so much time throwing dust in the air over angels, because I want to say more about this that we just looked at. I know, so I'll come back to it. I always do. Next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.